Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the Manlius Town Board meeting for April 10th, 2024, about 6:30 p.m. As always, we are remote and virtual. Top of the agenda, we always have instructions on how to join the Zoom if you'd like to join us for open podium or for a public hearing. And as well, we do live stream to Facebook, YouTube, and to our own website. So definitely check that out if you're interested. Next up, I will ask Councilor Italiano to lead the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First off, as we move to open podium, I'm sure some folks here that have some names are here to speak on the agenda item number 7 for the LDCs. The board, at this point, later in the meeting, we're going to be scheduling a public hearing for probably May 8th. So I'm just going to hold off on these comments for the public hearing on May 8th so that we can kind of keep business moving. So other than the 2 signups I have here to speak about LDCs, is there anyone else here for open podium?
I still want to speak.
Is it on LDCs?
Yes, but I still want to speak. It's an open podium.
It is an open podium, but we're going to be scheduling a public hearing, so we're going to save those comments.
I still
For that
want to
public
speak
hearing.
during this open podium.
My name is Don Hoff. I'm here to speak about the amending of the regulated cannabis dispensary.
So we've got a public hearing coming up, and so we'll just save that comment for them.
When is the hearing?
That hearing is today, and it's right after just a few business items.
So you won't be calling me to speak.
No, we're gonna save that discussion for the public hearing on the matter.
So I follow this gen, and I would like to speak.
Okay,
2 minutes.
no, we're gonna save that for the public hearing when everyone from the community can come in and have that conversation together. Feel free to continue sending questions. We're gonna try to be answering any questions. We're gonna have some more provided materials, but at this time, we're gonna move forward with the meeting.
They've
Unless
asked to, it's open podium though, they've asked to speak. Why are you limiting them, that today? They may not be able to come to the next.
Then they can submit their comment online.
Well, I agree with them, they should be able to speak.
That's fantastic. I appreciate that. Thank you. Is there anyone here via Zoom who's here for open podium to speak? Please use the raise hand function. Okay, so we'll move right along. So item number 4, unsafe building.
Good evening. I am not sure if anybody from the property is online. If they are, I'd ask that they raise their hand. If not, I have not heard back from the property owner or the property maintenance company regarding the state of the property.
Okay.
I was reached out, as I stated, that the architect would be going out there. I've not heard back of what the conclusion from that inspection was.
Okay. So at this point, we really haven't heard anything, and
We have not, they are moving forward with it, but I have not had a
we don't have
response.
anything official saying that they're moving forward towards demolition.
No, just that they had the architect going out there to do the review and that, and her observation was that it was required by the bank to move forward, that they exhaust every option.
Yeah.
So we could push it off one more board meeting and then a final decision could be made if we want to put that in the minutes that I could send to all the applicable parties, that this is, that a decision or determination would be made as all the appropriate steps have been taken for the demolition of the structure at this time.
Any disagreements, any conversation, any questions? So basically, if we don't hear from them by the next meeting, they'll be on the agenda again. We'll look for any kind of official communication giving us information that they're moving forward with demolition, or if they join us,
Or repair.
or repair. If they join us at the next meeting, and then, so if they're not present and we haven't heard from them, then we'll just discuss kind of what actions the board would have to take at that point. Does that sound good for everybody?
Have we received anything between that meeting, the last meeting, and this meeting from them officially, email?
I have not.
Didn't we request them to be present at this
Yeah,
meeting?
we did.
Yeah.
So if they're not, let's just be clear about what's the next step if they don't attend the next meeting?
The proceedings of chapter 63, the board would sign a resolution for the demolition of the building, and then we would proceed in accordance with that. There's certain parameters and timeframes that we have to meet for that, and those are outlined. I could get.
So I think that there's a timeline with that too, so I would suggest we prepare for that, and then.
That's where I was going, maybe we just
Yeah.
prepare it, and are we going to reach out to them, or are we gonna just wait for them to
Well,
call us?
so Tom will reach out, let them know the conversation we've had and send the minutes. But basically, if we get to their agenda item and we haven't heard from them and they're not here, then we'll just roll right into,
Which still gives them another 30 days.
thank you. Oh, and then we talked about item number 5.
So this, what has before is what we're calling the Development Planning Committee. This was brought before my office and we had started reviewing this. I have some documents here that we can share if they're, were they attached in it? The revisions, okay, so what you have here, I'm going to kind of read the statement purpose of this, of the Development Planning Committee, and then we
They're
can.
not attached.
Oh, did you send updated ones, but it was recent, right?
Yes, let me do this, I will read this, and then I will forward everybody what I have here, which is the most current and up to date of what I have. What I would like to do is after we have this discussion tonight, we can prepare something more formal and have a resolution drafted by our attorney if the board so chooses to adopt the formation of this committee. So in essence, I'm gonna read the statement purpose of the Development Planning Committee. Among the Town of Manlius Development Planning Committee's goals is the support of growth and development that is responsive to the town's comprehensive plan and the community's vision. The Development Plan Committee consists of representatives of the various town departments and stakeholders that are involved in facilitating or servicing development projects in the town. The community will facilitate early communication regarding development and make recommendation on key issues that affect the town. The committee will serve in an advisory capacity and will neither replace any legal process required nor serve any role assigned to any of the town Manlius boards. What I'm calling the pre-submission application process, which would get you in front of the Development Planning Committee. The pre-submission application process are intended to protect and strengthen the fabric of our community and encourage smart and sustainable development. The town of Manlius and the town of Manlius and the town planning board intend to the pre-submission application policies and procedures described herein to improve and expedite the identification of elements which might otherwise be missed during concept development for the developer. The early development of a concept plan which recognizes and responds to such items is expected to facilitate the earliest and most efficient definition and refinement of plans that simultaneously meet and exceed and prioritize both the applicant and the community. So with that, if a applicant comes to myself, a town board member, someone you could say, we have a committee that would help you facilitate this early concept plan. This would be, as I stated here, anything that goes through the Development Planning Committee, non-binding, no obligations for the developer. And again, there is in here, I outlined saying that for the town to provide meaningful feedback, the absence of fundamental information will, if you don't provide, the more information you provide, essentially, the more feedback we can give, the more resources that we can identify to aid the developer in hopefully expediting their development. I have a list here of who would be proposed. None of these would be, this would all be dictated per development. So if it was something that wouldn't affect the school districts, like I have superintendent of school districts or appointed representative, it's not gonna affect the school district, we wouldn't call them, but there's planning committee members and possible additional members, village mayor, village representatives, director of recreation, members of the comprehensive planning steering committee, as such.
And just as a reminder, this was kind of born out of the PUD process that we went through last year. This is not meant for someone who's putting a shed on the property. This is meant, it's a good way, and a lot of times in the past, a developer will reach out to, whether it's myself, a board member, Tom, or even a member of the planning board or zoning board to say, hey, I've got this idea, I wanna run it by somebody. This is a way to formalize that process, and again, bring so many people together. Because what we found is through the PUD process, if we engage everybody early, it leads to much better results. And Tom was kind enough to draft this up and make it a little bit more official. So you said you'll send this out?
I will send that to everybody for their review, and if the town board would like to move forward with the development. I foresee this, I have it set that it would happen on a day within the month. Right now, I just picked the third Thursday, but it would happen a day a month. And so everybody that is part of the committee would be able to schedule for such, but realistically, probably once, twice, maybe 3 times a year if we're gonna discuss, if the comprehensive planning committee, when they do their annual report, maybe we have a meeting for what we can do or how the development planning committee's goals will align with the modifications to the comprehensive plan for future development. And again, this is for the review would come from, if you would say, if someone approaches you or a developer, they come for a zone change, we have this process, they don't have to do it. But if someone did submit, it would be, my review that would extend that to them. So a simple modification of a commercial mercantile store in town center wouldn't fall under this process, but additional housing, sites that.
New shopping plaza.
Yeah, sites that might have features that the fire department would want to be aware of, things of that nature. Because again, everybody that's on my committee members here doesn't have to be involved. We would choose the appropriate members.
These are all on a voluntary basis.
Well, yes.
Some of them kind of close.
Yeah, some of them, like, if it involves a road, Rob's gonna be here. So Rob's gonna be there for all of them.
It's a great
And,
service.
and the kind of goal here
Yeah.
is, through the planning process, there was a lot of conversation of like, does the town of Manlius need a planner? And this is a way for us to really measure the need for a planner, to see if this board is meeting every month and they've got 2 or 3 items, then the consideration for the board is, hey, we should probably get a planner and we can handle this. Whereas this will perhaps get us to a point in a year or 2 or 3 years where maybe then we need a planner, but this is to make sure that we're not losing sight of that overall planning aspect. And really to just bring people together. We've had a lot of success working with the planning board and the zoning board on a number of different items that have been before us. And this is just another step in that direction to kind of bring everybody together and honestly, make sure that what's going on in town is the best possible quality.
So on that note, I'd like to recommend that we include the planning board in this initial dialogue as well, so send the draft to all of them as well, so.
Okay.
Because they're the
I-
ones that receive the end result of this product.
What I can do is I can outline myself, town supervisor, town councilors, police chief, highway superintendent, town engineer, fire department, planning board, zoning board. I can forward that along to everybody that I have outlined as a possible member for
And then
this.
just get their input before we write the resolution.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have a public hearing for the proposed local law amending the residential transitional RT zoning classification to allow and regulate cannabis dispensaries. So just as a kind of update, we had sent this to the planning board for recommendation. And they had a really good discussion, and then they invited me to their meeting that happened on Monday. And we were able to kind of have a conversation, make sure everyone's on the same page. And then we had a really interesting development come in that the planning board's recommendation, I don't know if we've necessarily received it exactly on paper yet, but the recommendation from the planning board is, once I explain to them that retail does allow for cannabis, so we have CA, CB, industrial, all these other places where retail is an allowed use. That really helped kind of understand what the goal was of this specific change. So the recommendation from the planning board was to, instead of it have a carve out specifically for cannabis, to essentially make it a much simpler amendment to RT to allow retail with either accessory use or special use permit. And then they also asked for a definition of cannabis dispensary and on-site consumption. And the goal there is we're gonna leverage what the state has used as a definition. So it was a really great conversation. I think it definitely made the planning board a lot more comfortable with it. The discussions I've been able to have with the board members, it seems like it's a pretty good resolution moving forward. So that being said, given that we don't have that current version of the law available to folks, the plan is to go through the public hearing tonight and then to hold it open until the 24th. So that if there are further comments, once those changes are published, if people would like to come in and either amend a statement or add another comment, that's our hope here, is to keep that conversation going. So with that, I would look for a motion to read the notice.
Motion to waive the public reading. Motion to waive the public reading of the notices. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Public hearing.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. So I think I know you're here for the public hearing. Would you like to come up and make the first comment?
Oh, there's I gave it to him when I gave her with my comments.
Yeah.
Then she
So,
just
yeah,
said, you know,
feel free, just come up to the podium. Let us know who you are, where you live, and trying to keep everything to about 3 to 5 minutes. We're gonna just try to move through the comments at a reasonable pace. And just, if someone has spoken before you, and you might be saying a similar or the same thing, feel free to just come up and say, I agree with this person, or I agree with that person. And just, one of the big things about public hearings that we try to stick to is, this is meant to be kind of an opportunity for the board to hear that feedback. And, if there's questions posed, the general idea is that we'll kind of address those at the end or as we're moving forward. So just so that we can get everybody an opportunity to speak and share their comments, so.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Teresa Short. I live in the village of Manlius, on Brook Hill Drive South. I do have some concerns with this, this change of zoning, proposed change. I did read your comprehensive plan online, and the village also has a comprehensive plan online. And it seems that opting in and opting out are kind of putting both comprehensive plans kind of at odds with one another, which is unfortunate. And in the town planning board, it says that you should be complementary to minimize conflicts across municipal boundaries, support harmonious planning. So with the location of this proposed site, right at on one side of the road, welcome to the village of Manlius, and on the other side of the road, this location, is that really promoting harmonious, communication? I don't think it is. Maybe you do, but were any other sites considered other than this that were properly zoned for this location, or is it just this is the best location, so that's where it should go? The other application things that I would like to go is your adult use. You're saying it's substantially comparable to the cannabis, and you listed all the other sites of retail that are that you're saying are comparable to this site, so it should be allowed. None of these businesses are cash only. None of these businesses are adult use. None of these businesses have restrictions on cameras, how far they can be from schools. None of them require alarms. So I don't see how that's substantially comparable. To me, that's not comparable at all. Maybe they're retail, but they're not comparable in my opinion. Also, it is 528 feet from a daycare center. I know it's 500 feet, but 28 feet really, you want to put it there? You want to put it right down the road from the YMCA? You want to put it right across the street from Aspire Dance, which is technically a youth facility? I don't think that this is the right place for this location. Whereas it might be, I respect that the town wants it, but they have to put it in a properly zoned place, not put it in place and then change the laws to fit your agenda. I don't think that that's fair. I don't think that it's right. And my last point will be, I think there's special treatment going on here. Mr. Cornwell, who is the one seeking the license, he is also head of the New York State Cannabis, and this will be his second location. So while other applicants are waiting in line, they're in queues, they're in hell, they can't get their licenses, he's jumping to the front to get a second location. So how is that fair to other licensed people who are waiting, yet he, with the help of the board, is getting his own place? You know, you're kind of pushing him along and not helping other people. Not that I want you to help him, but, you know, if that's the rule, that's the rule. And my last point will be, he's also advocating to reduce the taxes paid to the towns because he feels they're unfair. He says it's a double tax, it's unfair, taxes should be reduced that all the towns get. So if the objective was to get tax money, why are you supporting a business that is actively trying to reduce taxes paid to the town? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like to make some?
Basically,
Could just come on up to the podium, share your name and, where you live.
my name is Donald Hoffman. I live at 4601 Brookfield Drive, South Manlius. I was made aware of this zoning change or preferred change via a letter that I received from the town of Manlius. I have two concerns. First of all, we had that pop-up location in the month of December. That was not a licensed cannabis location. I looked on the state registry, it's a license pending. Number one, how did the town allow somebody to open up a cannabis dispensary when it is not authorized by the Cannabis Board of the State of New York? Number two, if you're concerned about our input then, now, why were you concerned before? I agree with everything with the lady spoke previously because of the location. I have grandchildren in that area. I moved from Tioga County up to the town of Manlius. We did our due diligence in trying to make sure the residence that we purchased was properly zoned, a residential area. We knew this residential, commercial area down below. Knowing that, we looked at the zoning requirements and I called the town hall and they sent me a copy of the original zone. And the only change I see is you added on the cannabis dispensary. If I knew that was going to be there at that time, I would have moved out of the town of Manlius. Because what I'm concerned about, there's none proven data right now because the industry is too new on whether the property's values increase or decrease. Some places out west, they say it doesn't increase, it doesn't decrease. Some places in New York State, I understand that it's like a 46-50 mix. That's one concern, but most importantly, I'm concerned about, I take my grandchildren for walks. That Brookfield Drive, north and south, it's a big dog walking area, people walk, very friendly, open community. I take them down to the mall, we go to the dollar store, we go down to the Daily Diner, we go, my granddaughter is at the dance studio, you know, and my grandson, you know, he's in other activities around there. But I know everybody has the right to choose. I don't want to have my grandchildren at a young age be persuaded or motivated by having certain stores in that area. Everybody has a difference between, you know, what's the difference between alcohol and pot smoke. It's up to their own. But in your regulations, it doesn't say a liquor store. So that you're comparing apples and oranges. I just feel that there's not enough research, gathered information for us to make that large change. I know we're in here to raise taxes, but my concern is maybe instead of looking at trying to have a business that's going to bring in maybe 20%, is that accurate what I'm saying? Or wide? Yeah. I think the state says towns could get up to 20%, maybe you know. So for that amount of money, is it really taking that risk? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else, show of hands? Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Karen Agrippino. I live in the town of Manlius on Jupiter Road. I worked at Just Read at Syracuse Cannabis Growers Showcase. which operated from December 17th through December 31st at 185 West Seneca Street. This building sits within the transitional zone, and our showcase was successful and well received by our neighbors. Tonight, I have data from the showcase to help inform the community members about legal cannabis sales within the town. During our 2 weeks open, we comfortably serviced 795 customers total. The average customer age of those 795 customers was 50 years old. The most common age group was within their 40s, making up 25% of our retail sale. The less common age group were within 21 to 31 years and 70 to 80 years, which was 10% of our transactions or less. All cannabis products are taxed 13%. 3% of this goes to the town, which totaled approximately $1,600 for just 2 weeks of sales at the showcase. I'd like to thank you all for your time tonight. I'd like to thank the town supervisors and counselors that have attended our showcase and have researched this emerging industry. I hope to see the town board members continue to move forward with these initiatives. Thank you.
That presentation was much more organized. Left you alone for the first 3 months of the year.
Missed you.
You know, sir? Yeah, Tom Bassett, 7321 Barbary Lane, Manlius, retired real estate lawyer. So, this subject brings me back to missed opportunities from back in the day, but that's beside the point. The other thing I was going to say was, in a matter of humor, I could say I'm an emissary from Bill Maher, who was a longtime advocate of cannabis. But the reality is that the state legislature, in its wisdom, passed a law legalizing cannabis after a presumed lengthy discussion of the pros and cons of that. And my opinion now is that this should be treated the way cigarettes are, regulated as cigarettes are, age 21 to be the age at which or under which you can't buy. And I'm a little bit ambivalent because I got two bipolar sons, and it could be argued that cannabis is a high-risk proposition for people with a propensity toward mental illness. In fact, it's almost assuredly. But what that means is that it has an uneven impact on different people. But that's the case with alcohol and probably other substances. So I understand the commercial aspect of it, and I support commerce within the town. So I'm ambivalent, but I support the amendment to the RT zoning to permit this use. And I'm thankful that I know what the proposed site is that has been discussed. Thanks so much.
Thank you. So show of hands, anyone else? If you are joining us via Zoom and like to make a public comment, please use the raise hand function.
Some of you already know me. I'm the Chief Financial Officer of Serona Labs, a licensed cannabis processor in the state of New York. I'm also a policy committee member at the Cannabis Association in New York. Most importantly, also a longtime second generational resident of Manlius. I just wanted to thank the board for continuing to be open to this new and emerging industry. As many of you know, the Cannabis Grower Showcase was a temporary fix to fix and put a Band-Aid on the slow New York State rollout. We have a lot of struggling cultivators in the state. Many of them are on the brink of bankruptcy. So it really means a lot to those in the industry. I was proud to see Manlius be a thought leader. We can now proudly say that we were the first legal cannabis sales in Onondaga County outside of city borders. I know firsthand the challenges that cannabis businesses face, especially at the state licensing level. It's just reassuring to see my local government be at the forefront of change. We at the Cannabis Association of New York have unfortunately seen other local municipalities be just another roadblock in an industry filled with overregulation, overtaxation, and the lack of access to things as simple as banking and insurance and just general business services. And then just wanted to quickly respond to a couple comments that were made earlier. We do see setback rules from schools and churches in the alcohol industry. That is where the 500-foot rule from schools came from. That is where the 200-foot rule from churches came from. It came from the alcohol industry. In fact, in the village of Manlius, you actually have alcohol sales that are within 200 feet rules of churches in the village of Manlius. So that is where those rules were pulled from. Secondly, I know Damian Cornwell personally. He's a good friend. When it comes to state licensing, he got his first license because he was involved in a nonprofit association that was the owner business. That's what gave him, he was able to be the third dispensary opened up in the New York State. And then as far as a second location goes, there's no, just the fact of the matter is there's no favoritism or anything going on. New York State put out a lottery system where numbers were randomly generated and license applications were reviewed accordingly. So again, I just want to thank you for continuing to lead conversations. Education is a really important thing in the cannabis industry, especially at the local grassroots level. Thank you.
Show of hands, anyone else?
Hello, my name is Mary Teskey. I live in the village of Fayetteville. I just really have a couple of questions about like hours of operations for that type of business. Is that in the law? Can they operate any hours they want?
If you kind of want to like just give us a couple questions, we're kind of taking everything down. We'll address everything at the end.
Okay, and I went blank, I can't remember the other. Oh, is this just for this one property that you're changing this zoning for, just one place in the town?
No, it would be permitted anywhere there was retail.
It's the RT zone.
This one is RT.
What this law is proposing is to change the RT zone to allow now for retail. So it would only affect RT zone parcels of which there are 7.
Which is a very small section outside the village man.
So that's just that one little area over there is what it's gonna affect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
We do have that email.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, I said no.
The clerk's office received an email from Charlotte Santella. She says, I am writing in regards to item number 6 on the agenda to amend the RT zoning classification to allow and regulate cannabis dispensaries. I may not be able to attend in person, so please feel free to share this with all. As a resident in the village/town of Manlius for 28 years, I wanted to be sure my support for this change was noted. As a result of the village of Manlius' decision to opt out of cannabis retail sales, the town council's position of this decision is important to the community that needs alternatives to manage their health and well-being other than the pharmaceutical companies and the pill pandemic. While Just Breathe was operating as a pop-up showcase for 2 weeks in December, I patronized the establishment and fully enjoyed having the opportunity to meet not only the employees, but the amazing farmers. The customers I ran across seemed so happy to have this dispensary open and available locally. Having this location operate as a legal, regulated dispensary would be so beneficial to the residents in the town of Manlius and avoid illicit shops that are developing across the country. As a resident who suffers with sleep issues as well as depression, and under the direction of my physician, I feel this business is greatly needed in our area. We need to stop the stigma that surrounds cannabis. Thank you for listening, Charlotte Santella.
Thank you.
Any other comments before we move on? We're not gonna close the public hearing.
So the public hearing will continue to the next meeting.
Yeah, and so I think I'll just kind of address some of the questions that came up, kind of in reverse order. So hours of operations, that's handled similarly to how liquor stores are handled through the state level. And the suggestion, where we're moving is that even though it will be within the RT zone as an allowed use, it will require a special permit through the planning board. So there's continual opportunities for other members, the planning board itself to put any restrictions they see fit. Let's see, as far as, trying to treat cannabis the same as alcohol, while the retail definition does not include alcohol, that it is consumed within that definition, something that we may want to, elaborate on. And really the only references to alcohol, within our town code are basically in an unused adult use zone, that I don't believe we have a single parcel of. And it's a, prohibition on selling or serving alcohol within that zone. And that was I can speak for myself, that was the intent, is to treat cannabis like alcohol. And then, as far as where other sites considered, this is something that came to this board, previously, when the folks at Just Breathe wanted to explore, a cannabis grower showcase, which was a temporary license through the state. So they were fully licensed. We worked, pretty diligently to make sure that they followed all the guidelines. This is really just seen as a way to take RT zoning, which is a very specific, mostly unused zone, and with it being the goal to serve as a transition district, understanding the proximity of retail to the location, that's really where the idea for this change came about. And
So were you saying that we worked really hard to make sure they're following all the regulations and everything? We approved this temporary showcase in November, and it could have been for the whole entire month of December, but it was only open for a couple of weeks because we were making sure it was following all the requirements and everything.
And then, as far as, harmonious planning with the Village of Manlius, I do know that, while the Village of Manlius chose to opt out, there was a petition that was circulated with about 450 signatures, that wasn't considered by the Village of Manlius, so, I think it's at this point a policy, disagreement between the leaders of the village and the leaders of the town. And seeing that this is a town property, we wanna make sure that, from our perspective, we're not getting in the way of business, and we are trying to encourage development within the town. So, any other comments from any of the board members? Okay, so we will consider this public hearing held open, until the 24th, where we'll take in more comments, and please,
Revised version.
yes, so I'm always gonna pitch this when we get a chance. If you are not currently signed up, you can sign up to receive either an email or a text message of our agenda as soon as it's released. Anybody that plans on following this issue, I strongly encourage you to go to the website. There's a little notify me button. You click on that. It'll show you the many mailing lists we have, but in particular of concern is the town board agenda. I promise it's not gonna be a waste of your time. You will see an agenda that's got something you wanna talk about. But again, you can get that email to you as soon as it's released, or even text it to you. So, if you're interested in following this and many other issues, please do consider, signing up.
I did just want to add one thing too, also, but during the showcase, when they were preparing to open up the business, they did work closely with our police department as well for security,
Yeah.
to make sure there weren't any concerns and everything was addressed.
Would you like to come up and,
I just had a comment. Next time you schedule a meeting, could you please do it when the village doesn't have their meeting so that our town board and our zoning have an opportunity to attend this meeting as well? Because they have a meeting tonight. So I just like a little more coordination, that if our mayor or any of our town people would like to come, that they have the opportunity to do it. Maybe just coordinate with them so everybody can attend.
so we publish our meetings right at the beginning of January. And this is something that with 3 villages, we do face these challenges at times. But this is our regularly scheduled business meeting. And
And the Manlius meets on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
This is your town.
Yeah.
Village and Manlius is last
Remember
night.
last night?
This is your town.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
yeah, thank you. Okay, anyone else? Okay, moving on. So next up, item number 7 on the agenda. So this is a resolution and certificate of incorporation for an LLC. So we've had a lot of conversations amongst board members, with our attorney, with other, we're working to get as many meetings as possible with other municipalities that leverage an LDC for local development. And so at this moment, really, I think what my ask of the board is understanding that we want to try to present some more information to the public, have an opportunity to receive public comments and give this LDC conversation some much needed room to have those conversations. I would just look for a motion to, it could be April 24th, we do have this one, the other public held open, but, perhaps, May eighth, if we'd like to schedule a public hearing for, consideration of, LDC formation, we can just kind of leave it open rather than necessarily, that way we can receive questions about the LDC, the intent of the board, things like that.
May 8th, I'll be here.
There you go.
I'd like to make a motion to schedule a public hearing to discuss the formation of LDC for May 8th at 6:35 p.m.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Does anybody right now have any questions about LDCs that we wanna, or comments? Okay.
I just want to make a comment and kind of go back to the open podium issue, related to this issue that people signed up, to speak on. I feel conflicted about, I know you have discretion, and I'll just say, it's an opportunity for the public to speak and address town business, and our rules of decorum and open meetings specifically list examples of town business operations and property or infrastructure, right, among other things. And again, while I recognize those rules give you that, I think the only discretion in them, the deputy supervisor in your absence, I just feel like maybe they should have been able to speak on the issue, and I just want to be on the record about that.
Absolutely, appreciate that.
I would like to state that I think part of what we need to have is better information, because it's not just the LDC, but it's the LDC's purpose in financing, that there needs to be better information about how that would work. So one of the things that you're looking at doing is just communicating with other townships that have that. But I would like to ask for legal counsel to provide, it doesn't have to be, a whole PowerPoint, but some sort of information between now and the 8th, so that the board members and the public have a better understanding of how that would work.
I think the intent is by the time that agenda is prepared, I'm hopeful to have like a PDF that'll have some information, some references, enough so that people can read that and prepare for the meeting, and bring, more informed questions, so.
Is the public hearing that day too?
Yes, on May 8th.
So you're gonna discuss it more and have a public hearing?
Yep, yeah, we'll do a whole presentation and then we'll open up for public comment, and that way we can all, be having the same conversation.
So there probably needs to be some stuff, reading materials in advance as well.
Yeah, we'll get that out as soon as we can.
You can also
And then,
send us comments and questions.
yeah, feel free, send in emails with questions, comments. I know some of the counselors have started to answer some of those questions. And we'll continue to do that, and any further questions are helpful, because it'll inform what we put into the presentation. Okay, so,
So I think we have somebody in the audience who's not in that.
no, sorry, we've had the discussion. And thank you, Mike, for weighing in, I appreciate that, Councilman. So I think, we're still waiting on the pilot agreement. We still have some review to do on that.
I think we're actually in a position tonight to approve it.
Okay.
There was one issue or change we were discussing, and it was the start date for the pilot. The proposal from the developer was to have the pilot start basically the first half of the year after interconnection. So if the board's comfortable with that change, everything else is, all the other terms are basically the same. So we can make a motion tonight to approve the pilot as presented. I can go through the terms if you want. There's a $20,000 host community benefit payment that would be coming to the town within 30 days after the project receives authorization for permission to operate. So within 30 days of interconnection, you get a $20,000 host benefit agreement. And then there's also
Agreement ending,
what's that?
when's the payment come?
Within 30 days of interconnection together.
So once they've got it all connected, that's when everything starts.
And then payment amounts are escalating from $3,311.60 for year one through $4,369.59 through year 15. So 15-year pilot with escalating amounts from about 3,300 to 4,300.
And that was using the same general map that we've been using for every other pilot, that OSATA uses, so, pretty standard, pilot offer for a solar site.
So I would make a motion to,
We didn't actually prepare.
So I make a motion to approve the payment in lieu of taxes agreement for solar energy systems pursuant to real estate tax law, section 487, for the solar array located at 7869 Peck Road.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? So the motion passes. So next up, we received a request, I had a really nice phone call, principal over at Fremont Elementary. So this is off of Fremont Road. And this is an area that I think historically, did not see a lot of speeding nearby the school. However, they have seen that uptick, especially I believe since COVID. And so they sent us a letter asking, we had a conversation, they then sent us a subsequent letter to ask us to take some action and pursue, turning, forget exactly.
Richmond.
Into a school zone, which requires a similar process to how we do speed limit changes, because it's inherently a speed limit change. We have looked at what other municipalities have done to create school zones, so we're kind of mirroring that. And tonight, what we're really looking for is, a motion to, allow for us to send that letter in that CE9, so that we can get that process started.
Not to conduct a traffic study?
What's that?
And not to conduct the traffic study?
Well, no, to be fair, yes. Well, that was, so again, when we looked at other municipalities making, these kind of applications, that was one of the things that we saw that people had done, and so it makes sense. Especially we have the, we have the speed equipment to, I think, handle that pretty well.
So I would make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the police department to conduct the traffic. So the police department, did you know you were going to do that? On Richmond Road West, and authorizing the town clerk to send a TE9 to consider speed reduction and creation of school speed zone on Richmond Road West.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. And just, I think for the general public, if you have an opinion on this, please send us an email, let us know. I have a feeling at some point that that's part of the process, we're gonna have a public hearing, so, if there is wide opposition to it, we, appreciate to know now. And then if you're in support of it, please do let us know, so that we can, when this E9 does come back, which will probably take some time, we can act accordingly. Okay, next up, highway department.
So, Councilor Calhoun, are you comfortable with this?
Yeah, so, apparently it's not the correct document, is it? From the-
Yeah, the applicant didn't fill out the right form. He's got it from, if you actually look at the title, it's the New York State DOT.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying, like, this is New York State over there. It was
I'll
my last
contact him in the morning for sure about that, but, this is not uncommon. I mean, they're basically asking us to work within our right of way, over there in the Spyglass subdivision. So he's got a whole separate plan. I got his whole information here. I will get with him, so basically what I'll need is a motion from the board to allow me to sign the permit, to allow them to work within the town's right of way. And I'll make sure that the permit's up to where it should be, so.
Yeah, he showed me that, I'm like, that's what I'm worried to see.
Well, and potentially good news, because it looks like they're extending their FiOS, Verizon
Yeah.
FiOS into Spyglass.
Yeah, I believe it's on Mount Road there, from the
Yeah,
village.
well, they were only looking at doing, what, $40,000 in work, so
Yeah.
it can't be much more than just Spyglass.
No, it's not a lot, so that's for sure, but it's something.
So I'll make a motion to authorize the highway superintendent to sign the highway work permit application for utility to authorize Verizon to work in the town's right of way on Spyglass Lane, not the one that's in the.
And I will second that.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up, we have a bid for the cold storage shed at the highway department. So this is something that's been a pretty long time in making. I believe it's the Sam grant that's gonna be funding this. So basically at this point, we have equipment that stays outside, throughout all the seasons, as we don't have a place for cold storage. We were lucky enough to be awarded a SAM grant from Senator Mannion's office, that will allow us to fund the construction of the cold storage shed, which will extend the life of our equipment, among other things.
So what this motion would be to authorize the publication of a big fat bid spec thing to go out to the public for anybody who wants to build a barn for us. And then when we would come back, we'll give, Rob will give them a tour and understanding of what the process is on the 23rd. And then the sealed bids will be due June 4th. Whatever the best value bid that we get on June 4th would be authorized to then build this pole barn for the highway department to keep equipment in on the off season. So there'll be summer equipment in there in the winter and winter equipment in there in the summer, and it will protect your assets. So I'd like to make a motion to authorize the publication of a bid notice for the construction of a cold storage shed at the highway department.
A second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. But we've been having a conversation for about 2 years now, right? It's nice to get that bid out there.
Well, this next one is similar.
Exactly. So if you wanna, roll straight into that, Sarah?
All right, so this one is to, we'd like to also authorize publication of an RFP for engineering services. Now, this story, I think, is even longer ago than the cold storage shed. This is for flooding Bishop Brook in North Eagle Village. So any of you who have experienced that road closes, what, every single year?
Yeah.
So we went through the state Department of Emergency Services and Homeland Security. They approved us, and then they had to send it to the federal government to get FEMA to approve us, because it's actually federal money. And then federal money gives it back to the state, and then the state gives it to us, and then we give it to this engineer if we vote yes. So this is to do a study of Bishop Brook. So the motion is to authorize the publication of an RFP for engineering services for the hazard mitigation grant to assess the Bishop Brook watershed.
You made the motion?
I made the motion.
Okay.
For a second.
Okay, any questions or conversation about that one? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up, approval of bid results for 2023 Ford and cab and chassis.
So this is another tried and true issue of, we've ordered equipment that doesn't come and doesn't come and doesn't come. And in this case, we were able to identify that there was that was never gonna come because they had cut off production. And so we may now buy a different vehicle, which is actually on the lot somewhere in New York, and we can get it. So
The incentives that actually were out there when OGS put the bids out, right, now it's gone. So there's no incentives, so there's nothing out there for them to have, so that's one of the issues that we're running across, and it's because it's been so much time that the bid award has been set, so.
So we'd like to make a motion to accept the bid motion to award the bid, because we have previously gotten the bids back from the sealed bid process to purchase a 2023, it's now 2024, but we had to wait that long, for a Ford 600 cab and chassis to Friendly Ford in the amount of $67,827.60.
And that is under MSRP too, sir, so that's like $3,300 under MSRP, which.
And this is state price.
Second.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. So next up, we do have something prepared to really just put a public notice out about the Sustainable Manlius meetings. Do either of you have any, is there like I forget what the reason was that we're publishing this schedule.
I don't know, was it missed in the organizational
No,
meeting?
we've never published them before, but Caitlin reached out to me and said that, several board members want to attend Sustainable Manlius, so she wanted to make sure that everybody was in compliance with the open meetings law. And so I don't think that this is required because Sustainable Manlius doesn't, I would defer obviously to Joe on this, but because Sustainable Manlius doesn't make any substantial decisions, so you're allowed to attend public events together, but there is no harm in making sure that we're covered, so we have that obligation.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, make the motion, to set the date, and authorize the clerk to publish the public notice for the 2024 Sustainable Manlius meetings. Meet 7 p.m. at the Manlius Town Hall as presented.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Hope for Heather, we'll just give a little background on that.
Sure. Hope for Heather, Tailwood and Run will be held in Manoa on May 18th. They've been holding this race for a number of years. The town's consideration is through police services that the organization requests every year to provide safety and security. The organization does pay for those services. The only adjustment to the contract that was provided was an adjustment in the rates for the police officers as recommended by Captain Stanton. So I have included those in there. This will go then to the Village of Manoa for their approval at their May 1st meeting.
Any questions? Okay, look for a motion.
Motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the Hope for Heather agreement as presented.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up, so good news, we made a motion about 6 months ago, to invest, some of the, funds that the town has, hold on to. We put that into a, 6-month CD at a 5.4% rate, somewhere around there. That has now matured. So we are getting back $2,054,000, pretty nice return for 6 months. And so what we did was we looked at the current rates for Wilmington Trust, who we did that previous investment through. Right now, the best offer that they have is 4 months at 5.25%. So I would like to see that approved tonight so that we can get that money back, earning the town some money. And then this is something that I want to put together for some consideration by the board, is that we could make a motion to basically authorize that, within certain bounds, money could just be reinvested as it comes up and we wouldn't have to wait for a board meeting. We're talking, at maximum, it saves us 13 days, gets it reinvested. But something I wanted to throw out there, I've had a conversation with a couple of the counselors about, but, the terms we set, and we can feel free to adjust these, was that, as this grows, potentially invest up to 2.5 million, and then up to 6-month terms for rates of 4.5% or higher. And so doesn't have to be made tonight. That's just something I wanted to throw out there for some consideration. And also I talked with the town manager and comptroller, and we're gonna be doing a little bit of a analysis of all the different investment vehicles that are available to the town. So that we can kind of double check and make sure that as we move forward, if fees for one vehicle are better, but the rate's a little lower, that way we can do the analysis and make sure we're always moving to the best possible. So any questions, any comments? Okay.
Is that like a capital reserve, or is that actually budgeted for? Okay, you don't have to answer that question.
Well, I will answer it, but, so that is essentially, would you like to tell us a little bit about where that $2 million comes from?
It is not a capital reserve. That is, funds, fund balance that the town has on hand that, we don't necessarily need today for operating. So if we have 4 or 6 months throughout the year where we can earn some additional interest, the town has the ability to do that.
So I think the easiest way to understand it is we levy 90% of our revenue in January. And, we know we're gonna be spending half of it after, June. So this is just a way to make that money do a little bit more work, for the residents.
Makes sense.
And actually, OGS wants us to be doing that type of stuff too. Having an investment policy, investing.
Yeah, so we did talk a little bit about investment policy, that I emailed that out to everybody. As soon as we get some comments, the comptroller and I and the town manager will kind of review those, get some of that feedback in, and then we'll bring it up for a future agenda to reconsider those.
So I guess with that in mind, I would like to suggest that the second part of this wait for that investment policy and that we have that dialogue all together.
Yeah.
And also the other vehicles like the New York class.
New
and
York
some of the
class,
other, so just have that as a thing.
Well, I'm hoping that we'll be able to generate a document so that everybody can see, these are the different vehicles, these are the rates and fees and all that stuff. And so that way everyone will know, why we went in your class because of this rate or term or things like that.
So, but in the meantime, I would be happy to make a motion to authorize the supervisor to invest $2,054,000 through the Wilmington Trust, which is who we already have, and a certificate of deposit for 4 months for 5.25%.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Let's see, next up, supervisor's report.
Actually, we have another item.
I think it's after that, but I can remember. Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so the tree commission was awarded a state grant, and part of that involves us contracting with Cornell Cooperative Extension of Onondaga County with our tree consultant, essentially, is our arborist, Leanna Nugent. She does a lot of things for us. She's amazing. She helps us figure out what trees we're gonna be planting where and in our right of ways. She also goes to our fish stock event and tables there, and she also does our Arbor Day stuff. She's also gonna be helping us with our tree inventory in the town.
And our, I'm gonna mess up the order of the words, community forestry and map plan for our town, which is also gonna help us continue to maintain our tree city status as well as help us move on to be community, a climate smart community bronze level for it. So in order to do that though, we need to approve a contract in order to be able to pay her. The maximum amount would be $6,775, upon which half of that will be due to her upon the signing of the contract. The contract is, needs to be reviewed by the town attorney first though, so it'll be, I'm gonna ask for a motion to approve the contract in an amount not to exceed $6,775 upon legal review with Cornell Cooperative Extension and the town of Manlius.
So moved.
There you go. That's great, yeah, I thank you for putting this together. Any questions, any comments? This is definitely one of those times where our abstract cycle, you know, kind of makes it so we've got to handle some business in a, you know, quick way, and I appreciate Councilor Taliano for getting it all squared away. So with that, all those in favor?
There's also, this is also a multi-year contract, so only have, and so this is actually a really good deal, $6,775 for multi-year, of which $3,387.50 will be paid up front, and the other half will hopefully be reimbursed.
So all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Next up, let's step into the supervisor's report.
Alright, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the supervisor's report for March 2024.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain, motion carries. So next up, we're gonna roll into the minutes. I do have, a couple things to talk about. Well, yeah, we just usually do the minutes and wrap up, so. I do got a couple things, two things that weren't on the agenda. One, you know, with the conversation about, you know, trying to find a site and build a new building and everything, after some conversations with the counselors, we're gonna plan for the 24th, the August or April 24th meeting. I will be working, with some town staff to prepare a presentation that'll detail the feasibility study from 2018. And I'll also catalog a number of the incidents that, you know, like our heat went out not too long ago. What was it today? Oh, last night the court was apparently pretty hot without the air conditioning working accurately. So we're gonna just try and present so that the public is aware. And this is a conversation that's been going on for about 10 years at the town. And given that there is a site within the town that, you know, we are in conversations with the developer for, it makes sense that we would use this as an opportunity to kind of get everybody on the same page, explain exactly why a new facility is needed. And so, and then that'll, I have a feeling that I'll probably clip that and make sure that we put that out to social media, because this will be something that a lot of people will wanna have an ability to weigh in on.
And those are the minor issues that you mentioned.
Yeah, those are the minor ones. Let's not talk about the, what is it, the chip that the heating system needs, that unless we get lucky at a garage sale, there's no more. It's, I will tell you, it's definitely something that keeps me up at night. So with that, I also have some news to share, after some conversations with the town clerk and the town board. We are very excited to say that our fantastic town clerk is going to be taking a job offer outside of the town. I am holding on to all of my negative emotions and bringing forth only happiness for a colleague. So in conversations with, you know, there's going to be a vacancy that will be created. We are expecting that resignation letter to detail a effective date within the beginning of May. So that being said, we're gonna post some information on the website, get it out there through social media. But the board is gonna consider any applications for that vacancy up until the end of day, so 4:30 on the date of our next meeting, which is April 24th. Basically, the requirements are to send us a letter detailing your intent to apply for the vacancy, as well as a resume. As a reminder, with town councilors and the town supervisor, these part-time jobs, the town clerk's role is a full-time, probably full-time and a half, position within the town. So, you know, we are looking for any and all applicants that are interested. And,
We have a couple other announcements. You have more to say about that?
no, we'll say the waterworks.
Yeah, okay. So we wanted to remind everybody that there's an open house tomorrow. There'll be on the Villages of Manoa, Fayetteville, and Manlius Bicycle and Pedestrian Connection Study. It will be the 11th, at the Village of Manlius Auditorium from 6 to 8. The presentation will be at 6:15. And then there's a wander around and talk to people time to share your opinions. Obviously, the Villages of Manoa, Fayetteville, and Manlius are in the town of Manlius, so it encompasses all of us, and the idea is to look for better ways to ride or walk between the villages, which is something many of us have been looking for a long time. So that's that. Mike has an announcement.
Yep, so, actually just learned, the Kirkville Fire Department, Fire District is having an open house on Saturday, April 13th. And we learned today that the Manlius Fire Department is having an open house on Sunday, 14th. I'll be out of town, encourage any of the board members to attend. I don't have too many details on Kirkville's, but Manlius is having Bull and Bear food truck there, demonstrations on their equipment. They got a free smoke detector sign up, face painting and other children's activities going on there, and they're giving tours of the facility as well.
Anybody else have anything that didn't make it onto the agenda? Any updates?
Some good minutes.
Yeah, go for
Oh, all right. Go ahead.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as amended from March 27th.
As amended.
As amended.
I think.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve abstract number 7 and 7A. In the amount of $332,778.39.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. So anything else that we didn't cover tonight? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning the meeting? Aye. We're in favor of adjourning. Yes. All opposed? Fantastic. Have a wonderful night.